Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the New England Balance Patch Cup, dated 11/23/2025. How are you doing tonight, June?
I'm doing great. I love that you didn't introduce yourself, Anthony.
Thank you for introducing me, June.
I got
Round
you.
of applause.
See, and that's the that's the kind of brain power it takes when you're gonna commentate with this guy. You know, you gotta be on your toes for him to just not say his name ever.
But that's the bit, though, because then I introduced you, and then you introduced me. So
Yeah.
then we have that perfect cohesion.
That is fair. I was just on stream last round. People who
yeah.
loyal fans to the
June Lintner fan club.
well, I was gonna say the GERD fan club since we're on his
true.
Twitch channel.
That's true. That's true.
You know,
Very good point.
they should at least know me, but I don't know about
I
you.
mean-
Either way, we've got two trainers in the New England VGC scene who I'm sure you know if you're around our locals at all. Coming up on this round 2 of the New England VGC Cup, we are first going to be speaking about Ronald Ayer's team, as we're going to get that moved over to the screen right now. And Ronald running a pretty standard rain team, arguably the standard rain team from the beginning of Regulation H Part 1, with the Pelipper, Archaludon, Basculegion, Incineroar, Amoonguss, and Golden Go.
Some not interesting Terras, but I do want to point out that Terra fighting Body Press Archaludon. I like how we've deviated a little bit from that grass or bug Terra to scare away those Amoonguy. Is that the plural of Amoonguss? Amoonguy?
Amoonguss, Amoongusses.
Yeah. I'll put Amoonguss.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah,
I think
that
Amoonguss
works.
is already, yes, a
Yeah,
plural.
I think that's perfect.
Yeah.
So scaring away those Amoonguss, but not for Ronald at all. This Terra fighting Body Press Archaludon is a little bit scary, scarier than most, since it's mainly a special attacker. But obviously with that stamina ability, that is going to be boosting your defenses as many times as you have gotten hit. Next up, we got Zach Weed. This guy. No introduction needed at all.
Well,
Coming off of a second place finish at Las Vegas Regional Championships, not even last week.
no,
Well, yeah, last week.
it was last week.
Close
I was
enough.
like, it actually was last weekend, Anthony. And using the same team that he used at the Las Vegas Regional Championships, here, he is looking to run it back with another very solid result. You know, of
Yeah.
course, Zach, one of the strongest players in New England.
Canonically, the
Canonically,
strongest.
the strongest player in New England.
Yeah.
You're right, actually, after
Wh-
winning the New
yeah.
England Invitational over the
Exactly.
summer.
Some scary stuff coming out from this player, especially this Life Orb Alolan Ninetales is also pretty cool. Not the usual item for it. You usually see like a Covert Cloak or a Focus Sash, maybe live some hits. You don't get flinched from Fake Out, but yeah, this Life Orb Alolan Ninetales is very scary, especially with dual stab with Blizzard, Moonblast, Encore, and obviously Protect.
Yeah, it just makes it hit a whole lot harder. And you can't talk about Zach Weed without talking about his proficiency with a Sword Stance Black Glasses King Gambit.
Oh,
If I were
fuel.
Ronald, I'd be real worried about that one. We're
I
not
would be
going to see it on
quaking.
lead. We're going to see the Rillaboom and Sneasler for Zach Weed, staring down the Basculegion and Pelipper on Ronald's side.
very scary stuff from both players. Ronald obviously getting up that rain for whatever's in the back, whether it be that Archaludon or even the Amoonguss to redirect any hits that Zach has coming his way. But this Sneasler Rilla lead is also very scary because Zach now has access to maybe even outspeed Ronald, even with that Swift Swim ability.
Yeah, you would expect the Sneasler to outspeed the Basculegion just because of the big difference in their natural speed stats, and Ronald, with the same expectation, switching out the Basculegion, a pretty hostile environment with a Grassy Glide, Rillaboom, and a Sneasler that outspeeds it. Now switching in the Incineroar, a much safer Pokemon to have in front of those two physical attackers on Zach's
a
side.
double switch coming out from Ronald as well. And it does go into Archaludon.
Yeah, the Sneasler clicking Dire Claw into what was the Pelipper slot. Archaludon proving to be a phenomenal switch in,
Ooh.
soaking up both the Dire Claw and the Wood Hammer, giving Ronald a free +1 defense boost on that Archaludon that you were talking about before the match, Anthony, and getting that Incineroar with Fake Out Pressure on the field in very freely.
Very scary stuff coming out from Ronald turn 1. Getting an instant -1 attack on both Zach, Sneasler, and Rillaboom Well, not only that, you're also giving Archelodon a free +1 defense. That's just going to make Ronald even more scary. Especially with that Terra fighting, this King Gambit's up for one heck of a ride.
Yeah, of course the King Gambit on Zach's side, if it is in the back, which we do see now thanks to the benefit of Zach's POV, is Terra Fire. So at least you can terrestrialize away from that fighting quadruple weakness, but not a lot of special attackers on Zach's team. The more this Archelodon gets boosted on that defensive side, the more difficult it's going to be to deal with for Zach.
Definitely. I have a strong feeling that this Ninetales might come into play. A Poison coming out onto Ronald's side from that Dire Claw from Zach. But this Incineroar does land a Flare Blitz onto this King Gambit, obviously not boosted by... sorry, it's not boosted by the rain, but this Flash Cannon also comes out into King Gambit as well. Both attacks doing around half onto that King Gambit, so it's not bad chip for Ronald.
Yeah, you do get good damage into the King Gambit on the switch in. For Zach, though, still not a bad turn. You know, of course, you do get the poison from the Dire Claw on the Incineroar. Pretty fortunate for Zach. But the King Gambit, Zach seeing the Archelodon already hit the field, you realize if you're Zach, you're not going to get a ton of value out of King Gambit in this game with the Archelodon boosted, with the Pelipper still having its Focus Sash intact, and with, of course, Incineroar still existing.
Exactly.
So you might as well bring it out. You're going to need your Rillaboom a whole lot more in this endgame to help deal with that Basket Legion. So, you know, try to get a little bit of value out of that King Gambit as we see it. Yet another critical hit on stream. The Dire Claw KOing the Incineroar from about half health, while this Archelodon is going to get a little bit more boosted, this time on the special side from this Electro Shot.
Electro Shot actually going into King Gambit. This definitely picks up King Gambit as well. Zach trading his own King Gambit for Incineroar, I think that's a pretty net positive trade for Zach, because now you don't have any fake out pressure. You're not getting debuffed from -1 from Intimidate, and you pretty much get a free swap back into Rillaboom here. And there are some boosts on Ronald's side as well, but this Basket Legion's a little scary.
It's a little scary, but you do have to remember it's Terra Water is this Basket Legion on Ronald's side. Cannot get away from that Grassy Glide weakness, and it does take a pretty decent amount of defensive investment for the Basket Legion to survive something like the Grassy Glide from Rillaboom. We are going to see now the switch out. It's the Ninetales hitting the field for the first time this contest on Zach's side, resetting that Intimidate drop, and
Woodhammer, one-hit KOing Basket Legion.
getting rid of that Swift Swim for the Basket Legion, allowing Rillaboom to be the fastest thing on the field. Very important information for both these two players, seeing those speed interactions.
Zach getting a very positive trade out of this turn. You're not only KOing that Basket Legion first, which means, oh hey, I'm coming in with essentially no chip, but Ronald, as we just saw, is now locked in to that Electro Shot. Because that snow is up, that's not a one-turn boost anymore, that's still 2 turns.
Yep, so we are going to see the Electro Shot come out into one of these 2 slots. I'd imagine it's going to be the Ninetales.
Yeah.
On this next turn. That was the Sneasler, a little bit more, you know, it's a higher value target certainly than the Assault Vest or Rillaboom on the other side. Now this Pelipper, it does have Protect, the only Pokemon with Protect on the field, but we aren't going to see it. Moonblast comes out into Pelipper. Woodhammer's going to follow it up.
Critically outspeeding. That's a very important speed interaction too.
Yeah, well, you'd imagine if the Rillaboom is faster than the Basket Legion or Archelodon, it has to be faster than the Pelipper.
Yeah, exactly.
Based on how those Pokemon are generally trained. But the Electro Shot
does KO.
Hit into the Ninetales and KO at +2 special attack. Now we are staring down an Archelodon that has not terrestrialized in front of this Sneasler and Rillaboom, which also both have not used terrestrialization for Zach's side either. I don't know how much value those Pokemon would get from it. Especially with the rain up, a Terra Flying on Sneasler could spell a lot of trouble. I'd imagine the Electro Shot probably picks up the Sneasler at this point anyway.
There's definitely some mind games going on here. I think Zach, both players are obviously trying to beta what Terra is the other player going to use, but Zach obviously has a little bit of an advantage being up 2-1. But we see a Protect coming out from Sneasler. Zach possibly trying to bait, see what our Chaladon's going to target into. And yeah, fake out. Yeah, don't want to give any free boosts to this Archaladon. But a body press does go into Dude Man, the Rillaboom.
Yeah, a pretty heady play from Zach Weed there. You know, of course, wise beyond his years, as we always say. Not giving Archaladon any defensive boosts, while also not putting yourself in a position where Ronald can take a KO that turn, so that you can scout out, will the Archaladon Terastallize or will it not? Of course, Ronald making a very great call that same turn.
Definitely.
Body press into the Rillaboom just for a little bit of damage, but baiting out the Protect from Sneasler. So now this turn, still without Terastallization into that fighting type on the Archaladon, which you would think would have been pretty safe in that position. Gets to just launch another Electro Shot, and that +3 special attack will be more than enough to deal with this Sneasler. And
we're definitely seeing not too many mind games here, but this is a scary position for Zach, obviously. I believe the Archaladon is now at +3, I want to say.
I just said it out loud, Anthony. Yeah, +3 special attack on this Archaladon.
But yeah, we do see a Terastallization from Ronald's side, and critically, this grassy terrain is gone. So this is, I don't believe this is a Woodhammer coming out from Zach, but Ronald does Terastallize into the fighting type on Archaladon, and we see a high horsepower miss from Zach's side. While I imagine this body press is going to pick up from Rillaboom.
Yeah, this is also a +3 defense Archaladon. More than enough to pick up the Rillaboom with the same type attack bonus boost from the Terra Fighting. And Ronald will take game 1 here in our second round at the Balance Patch Cup. And, I mean, first things first, we didn't notice any major mistakes, any major misplays from either of those two players, but, you know, if you're putting yourself in Zach Weed's shoes, how do you game plan to deal with that Archaladon in game 2, with it being such a big issue for all your physical attackers? Exactly.
I think, obviously, one critical part is, hey, I really want to maintain weather, but this Pelipper's a little annoying to take care of, obviously, with that Focus Sash. The Basculegion, obviously, it's not too much of an issue, but this Archaladon in the back can just switch into my moves, get set up, and then Ronald still has Fake Out or Redirect Pressure with his Amoonguss, and can swap off at any point. But I think that rain control from Ronald was very critical, especially getting all those Electro Shot boosts to be able to actually rack up damage on both Ninetales and Sneasler. And obviously getting all those defense boosts from all those hits that I was taking, and just being able to KO Rillaboom in a decent amount of time.
Yeah, so, I mean, all that being said, not a ton of great offense that you have into the Archaladon. I think you really have to lean into that Alola Ninetales. It's your only special attacker on the team. You know, you can maintain weather control with it, and it's your only way to hit the Archaladon on the special side, where you don't care about all the stamina boosts that it's going to get throughout this game. Zach trying the strategy of just leaving the Archaladon for the end game. Let's see if he can be a little bit more proactive here, as
we do see a different lead from Zach.
Yeah, we are going to see the King Gambit immediately staring down this Pelipper and Basculegion. Gambit alongside the Sneasler without its friend Rillaboom, going to be slower than this Swift Swim Basculegion on Ronald's side. Interested to see what Zach is planning with these two Pokemon, as they are both under a heavy amount of threat from Water-type moves from this Basculegion on turn 1.
Definitely, especially from that Pelipper too. Pelipper, no slouch with those stab Weather Balls and Rain, as well as Hurricane into Sneasler. So let's see what Zach does.
Yep, and it is just going to be a Protect into the Sneasler, going to soak up that Aqua Jet from Ronald's side, and
we do see a Sucker Punch from Zach's side.
Oh,
Tailwind going up for Ronald as well.
That ends up being a great turn from Ronald, even though he attacked into the Protect. Gets to ignore the Sucker Punch from the King Gambit by virtue of having the faster priority, and gets the Tailwind up for the Basculegion if Ring gets turned off, or any of the sweepers in the back.
Critically as well, that Focus Sash is still intact on Pelipper, so this Mon is not going anywhere anytime soon unless Ronald decides to switch out. But we do obviously know that that Basculegion is locked into that Aqua Jet.
Yep, so we are going to see the Sneasler switch out here in favor of, I believe that's the Alola Ninetales.
Yes.
Yep. So a Pokemon that turns off the rain, going to get the snow defense boost. So if it's another Aqua Jet into that same slot, Ninetales should be able to take that a whole lot better than Sneasler would have in the rain.
Oh, wow. Still doing a really decent amount of damage, even without that rain, but you still have that defense boost on that Ninetales.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Zach getting weather control pretty early. Obviously, these mons are a little under less pressure from this Basket Legion now that rain's not up. Obviously, Basket Legion's in snow with Choice Band. It's not going to do a whole lot of damage. But this Pelipper's Focus Sash is still intact. Obviously, okay, we do see Pelipper swap out here.
Yeah, pretty obvious switching position for the Pelipper on Ronald's side. Honestly, you might want to get the Basket Legion out of there soon, too, if it's just going to sit on the field and click Aqua Jets.
Yeah, this is scary. Aqua Jet going into the protecting Ninetales right now. But who does this King Gambit target? Going into Archaladon. Free boosts.
A free +1 defense boost going into the Archaladon. And we still have at least one more turn of Tailwind. We're going to see it is just the one more turn of Tailwind on Ronald's side. This Archaladon outspeeds everything on Zach's side of the field. It's going to be able to get some very good damage off before anything else happens.
Definitely. And this Archaladon's very well positioned, especially with Flash Cannon, Body Press. If Pelipper decides to come back in for that Basket Legion slot, that's a free Electro Shot into whatever comes in. But Ronald having a lot of options here. Zach a little on the back foot, but definitely willing to play around, especially with one turn of Tailwind left. You're going to regain that control if you still have weather up for yourself.
Yeah, you'd imagine this as the Pelipper switching in for Basket Legion, just like you had said, Anthony. And, you know, for Zach's side, you really got to get the Alolan Ninetales out of there, too.
Yeah, this is a very scary position for it. I believe Ninetales swapping out into Rillaboom here. I believe we saw a Terrestrialization come out from Zach's side to avoid that Body Press.
Yeah, the Body Press only got +1 boost from the Kowtow Cleave that the Archaladon took on the switch in. But with that Terra fighting, going to be doing a whole lot more damage than you might expect. Also, crucially, with the Ninetales still active on Zach's side, going to make the Archaladon weak now to those Moonblasts. So
especially
for Ronald,
that Life Orb Moonblast,
especially
that's
the
gonna hit
Life
like
Orb
a truck.
Moonblast. So Ronald now really has to make sure that he is maintaining speed control on his end, as it's a Terra fighting, but an Electro Shot.
Huh. Interesting move coming out from Ronald, but does end up getting that +1 special attack boost. Going into this King Gambit, doing around, it's a good 60%, 60 to 65%.
It's a lot of damage. A critical hit from the Kowtow Cleave brings the Pelipper down to its Focus Sash. That's pretty solid position for Zach to be in, since the Rillaboom just hit the field for the first time, has a fresh Grassy Glide available to hit this Pelipper whenever it so chooses. And now you're in a position, if you're Zach Weed, where finally you're able to put on some kind of offensive pressure. You know, you have double priority staring down this low health Pelipper. You do have to deal with the Archaladon at some point, but as long as you can keep Tailwind from going back up, the Ninetales will outspeed it and will be able to hit it with a Moonblast. The Sneasler could even hit it with a Acrobatics once it hits the field again.
Yeah, critically, Zach does have Acrobatics on their Sneasler. And Zach has different ways around this, and obviously we do not see a Tailwind up from Ronald's side because of those earlier speed interactions that we saw in Game 1 with Rillaboom outspeeding this Pelipper.
Yeah, don't even have to worry about the Grassy Glide on that turn. You can just use the Wood Hammer. You know, any recoil is going to be negligible, knowing that the Pelipper is just at 1 HP.
And we do see an Electro Shot. This is now a +2 Archaladon KOing this King Gambit. So this does essentially confirm Ronald is out of the weather war, but not the battle. But this is going to be a very uphill battle for Ronald now that he does not have any more Pelipper access.
Yeah, it certainly makes this Alolan Ninetales a lot stronger in this matchup, and it's going to hit the field once again for Zach as the Incineroar revealed as the 4th Pokemon on Ronald's side.
A lot of scary damage potential coming out from this Ninetales as well. You have access to Moonblast, you have access to your, I believe we saw Sneasler in the back already for Zach, but Ronald is still at +2. Archaludon at +2 is no slouch, even with flash cannons and +1 body presses at Terra Fighting. But it's looking pretty up for Zach, especially with this weather control. You have the defense boost with the snow, critically not hail anymore. You're not getting chip with that, but you are getting that leftovers recovery. But we do see a swap out from Zach. I believe this was into the Sneasler. Yes, this is into Sneasler. So now Rillaboom is no longer at -1. This Sneasler is at +1 speed with that Unburden though, making it faster even than the Basket Legion in rain. We do see a Protect though from Ninetales.
Yeah, still a potentially dangerous switch in for the Sneasler, as no Fake Out comes out. It is a Flare Blitz into that slot.
With the burn onto Sneasler as well.
Yeah, even with the +1 defense, still taking a hefty chunk from that Flare Blitz.
Wow,
And the
doubling
follow-up
that slot.
body press will be resisted, but with those boosts, still enough. And
A critical hit on top of the Flare Blitz burn.
yeah, a great turn from Ronald, doubling up into that Rillaboom slot, and now knocking Zach down to his final 2 Pokemon here in this game too.
Zach in a bit of a bind as well. That grassy terrain is going to end soon, because this Rillaboom switch-in doesn't reset it.
Yeah, thankfully you don't need it as much with the rain being gone on Ronald's side. You know, we have confirmation that the Rillaboom does outspeed the Basket Legion as well as the Archaludon, so you don't need to click Grassy Glides really at all in the rest of this contest.
I don't think at all.
And you do have, of course, the Moonblast option into this Archaludon on this turn, but the Incineroar still at full health all of a sudden becomes something very difficult to deal with if you're Zach Weed.
The non-terrestrialized Pokemon is now the main threat for Zach's team. Obviously taking care of this Archaludon. Oh, hey, I can just Moonblast this. Or, especially with that Basket Legion that we saw earlier, you would just outspeed it with Rillaboom. But this Moonblast does come out, and it doesn't KO Archaludon. But this special attack drop might matter in the end.
Wow, an incredibly bulky Archaludon. You know, even with the Assault Vest, Archaludon, not known to be the most specially defensive Pokemon in the world, survives the Life Orb Moonblast to return a KO onto the Alolan Ninetales, and that should lock up this set for Ronald.
Yeah, suddenly Zach is in a 1v3. This Archaludon is already boosted up beyond its prime. High horsepower coming out from that Rillaboom, not KOing the Incineroar. What does Ronald fire back? Parting Shot coming out. I don't think that, it's...
The safe play,
Yeah.
certainly. You know, you get the attack drop onto the Rillaboom, you get Fake Out pressure.
Especially with the slower Parting Shot especially.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Ronald, though, you could have just taken a KO with your Flare Blitz and your Body Press. Body Press likely going to be enough anyway.
Oh,
No, okay.
Interesting.
Actually, I think the Archaludon might only be at +2 defense.
Oh, yes, I think you're
After
right.
the Kowtow Cleave and then the Moonblast, I don't know if
Yeah.
it was hit anymore.
Yeah, I
than that.
think you're correct.
But either way, a 1v3 for a Rillaboom under half health, probably not going to be enough.
Yeah, Zach locking in the forfeit there. Ronald up 2-0 against Zach. That Sneasler switch-in was so brutal. The Flare Blitz burn into what was it? I think 2? No, just 1.
Would've been just
+1
plus
body
one.
press crit.
Yeah, but the critical hit really was the difference maker in that turn. And you know, we've
Unfortunately, it
seen
didn't
on
work out.
stream already, multiple games now have turned on the hand of a critical hit at an opportune time.
It's, especially with Calvin versus Liam round 1, just unfortunate luck for one of the players. That happens. This is a game we play. We have to live with it. But such an that Sneasler. That
You
poor
still hung up
guy.
on it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Ronald did make the correct play with, oh hey, I actually do want to target, or I want to double that slot.
Yeah.
And obviously Flare Blitz into Body Press, I think that was pretty safe, especially if Flare Blitz, the Rillaboom was EV'd to live Flare Blitz at some point. I think Ronald obviously made the correct play, but did just get so far ahead, especially since Moonblast did not pick up that KO later on in the game.
Oh yeah, and that was another turn where if Zach Weed, instead of protecting the Ninetales there, had clicked Moonblast, the Archaludon would have gotten, I think it was 2 fewer turns of Grassy Terrain recovery.
Exactly.
Makes a huge difference
Yeah.
in games like this where Yeah, we saw the Archaludon survive in very low red health. Really
Yeah.
difficult position for Zach to get himself out of. And of course, just a difficult Pokemon to deal with when your team is largely based around physical attackers.
Exactly. Ninetales being one of the only answers outside of Sneasler, obviously. I think it was a very difficult, obviously, Pokemon to pinpoint for Zach. But I know he'll come back.
Oh, yeah,
1-1.
he always does.
I know that guy.
And of
He's
course,
fine.
congratulations to Ronald on a
Yeah.
very well played set, beating one of New England's finest, if not
If not
New
the
England's finest. We're going to see much more action just as exciting as this later on in today's contest. Stick around for round 3 of the New England Cup coming up right after this.